Once upon a time, in the vibrant town of Meadowbrook, where rows of golden marigolds lined the streets and the air always carried the comforting aroma of fresh bread from the corner bakery, lived a cheerful and spirited girl named Priya. Meadowbrook was the kind of place where everyone knew one another. Shopkeepers greeted passers-by by name, children rode their bicycles until the sky turned pink, and music often floated through open windows on warm evenings. In this lively town, Priya was known not for her appearance, but for her laughter, a bright, bubbling sound that made others smile without knowing why. Priya was heavier than most girls her age, and while some outsiders occasionally whispered about it, within her circle she was loved deeply. Her parents adored her. Her younger brother thought she was the best storyteller in the world. Her friends leaned on her whenever they needed comfort or encouragement. But what truly set Priya apart was her voice. Every morning, just as the sun stretched its golden fingers across the rooftops of Meadowbrook, a melody would drift from the window of a small, sky-blue house at the end of Lily Lane. That melody belonged to Priya. Her voice was warm and rich, like honey poured over velvet. It carried emotion so pure that even the birds seemed to pause in their songs to listen. Singing was not just something she did, it was where she felt most alive. In her room, surrounded by posters of legendary performers and fairy lights that twinkled like tiny stars, she would close her eyes and sing to an invisible audience. In those moments, she was fearless. Her body did not matter. The world did not matter. There was only the music. Yet the moment she imagined real eyes watching her, her courage dissolved. At school, during talent shows and morning assemblies, she always found an excuse to stay in the background. "What if they don't hear my voice?" she once confessed to her best friend, Maya, as they sat beneath the old banyan tree near the playground. "What if all they see is me?" Maya frowned, her sharp eyes flashing with protective energy. She was everything Priya wasn't: bold, outspoken, and completely unafraid of the world. "They'll see you," Maya said firmly, "and then they'll hear you. And once they hear you, nothing else will matter." Priya smiled, but the doubt inside her remained like a quiet shadow. Life in Meadowbrook moved gently, marked by festivals, market days, and evening walks along the river. Then one day, something happened that changed everything. Colorful posters appeared on every street corner. The Royal Theatre was not just any stage. It was a place of legends. A magnificent hall in the heart of the city, where chandeliers sparkled like captured constellations and the greatest voices had once risen to standing ovations. For Priya, it felt like a dream too distant to touch. Her friends thought otherwise. "You have to enter," Maya insisted, waving one of the posters in front of her. Her parents agreed. Even her shy little brother whispered, "Please sing on the big stage, Didi. I want everyone to hear you." But that familiar voice of doubt returned. "What if they laugh?" Priya asked one evening, staring at her reflection. "What if I walk on stage and they already decide I don't belong?" Her mother came to stand behind her, resting gentle hands on her shoulders. "Do you remember when you first learned to walk?" she asked softly. "You fell again and again. But you kept getting up because something inside you knew you were meant to move forward. Your voice is that something. Don't let fear teach it to stay still." That night, Priya lay awake for hours. She imagined the stage lights, the audience, the judges. She imagined herself running away. Then she imagined singing. Really singing. By morning, she had made her decision. She would try. The day of the audition arrived like a storm of emotions. The auditorium was enormous, its high ceiling echoing with scales, rehearsals, and nervous laughter. Contestants moved about in elegant outfits, their confidence shining as brightly as their polished shoes. Priya felt small. Her hands trembled as she clutched the number pinned to her dress. "You're not alone," Maya whispered, squeezing her hand. "We're all right here." From the audience, her parents waved, their faces glowing with pride. When her name was called, her heart pounded so loudly she was certain everyone could hear it. The walk to the stage felt endless. The lights were blinding. The microphone stood before her like a test she wasn't sure she could pass. For a moment, the old fear rose again, the fear of eyes, of judgment, of not being enough. Then she remembered her room. Her fairy lights. The mornings when her voice floated freely into the sky. She closed her eyes. And she began to sing. The first note was soft, almost fragile. But it was true. The second note carried more strength. By the third line, the hall had changed. Her voice wrapped itself around the audience like a warm embrace. It climbed and soared, dipped and trembled, painting emotions in the air. Every word she sang came from somewhere deep inside her. Every hidden tear, every quiet dream, every moment she had held herself back. The world disappeared. There was only the song. When the final note faded, silence filled the auditorium. A deep, stunned silence. Priya opened her eyes slowly, her breath trembling. Then the entire hall rose to its feet. The applause crashed over her like a wave. People were cheering. Some were wiping away tears. The judges were smiling. In that moment, something inside Priya shifted. For the first time in her life, she saw herself the way others saw her, not as someone to be judged, but as someone who had given them a piece of her heart. Backstage, Maya nearly knocked her over with a hug. "I told you," she shouted, laughing and crying at the same time. Round after round, Priya sang. With each performance, her confidence grew. She experimented with different styles. She learned how to command the stage. She began to look at the audience instead of hiding from them. And something even more beautiful happened. People in Meadowbrook began to change. A girl who had been too shy to dance joined the school performance group. A boy who had been mocked for his stutter signed up for the debate club. An elderly tailor who had once dreamed of painting started displaying his artwork outside his shop. Priya's courage had become contagious. By the time the finals arrived, the entire town gathered to watch. The stage for the final round was even grander, decorated with cascading lights and deep crimson curtains. Priya stepped onto it not as the girl who had once been afraid, but as a singer who had found her truth. Her final song was not the most technically complex. It was simply the most honest. She sang about fear and hope, about mirrors and music, about learning to love the person you are. There wasn't a single dry eye in the hall. When the winner was announced, the applause began before her name was even finished. Priya had won. But more than the trophy, more than the title, she had won something far greater. She had won herself. Her performance at the Royal Theatre became the stuff of Meadowbrook legend. The grand hall shimmered under golden light as her voice filled every corner, reaching balconies and back rows, touching strangers who would never forget her. From that night on, Priya continued to sing. Not for approval. Not to prove anything. But because it was who she was. Years later, people would still speak of the girl whose voice changed a town. Children would stand beneath her old bedroom window, hoping to hear her practice. Young performers would say, "If Priya could do it, so can I." And whenever someone asked her what had made the difference, she would smile and say, "The moment I stopped trying to be what others wanted to see, and started being what I was meant to be." Her journey became a living reminder that true beauty is not measured in shapes or sizes, but in the courage to stand in your own light. And in Meadowbrook, on certain golden mornings, when the breeze was just right, a familiar melody could still be heard floating through the air, rich, warm, and full of life, carrying with it a message that would never fade. Your voice matters. Your dream matters. You matter. Don't forget to subscribe our channel.